something can happen to you in a narcissistic relationship or in a family system. It can feel sort of like a dare. And this can happen because you grew up in a narcissistic family. And it may be on the basis of past relationships. But has anyone ever said anything like this to you? Have you ever heard this? Things like, oh, you're too much. I do not see how you could make a long-term relationship work. Or, you're a bit extra. Who is going to put up with all of this? Or, oh, you're just a cut and run person. When the heat gets turned up and the relationship turns real, that's when you always cut bait. Or, I know you, when the relationship isn't fun anymore, you're not going to be able to handle it. Or, oh, you're just too immature to make a relationship work. Or, oh, come on now, you just expect your partner to be your parent. I don't see how you could make an adult relationship work. Or, oh, please, whenever you're in a relationship, you start to cry and say how we're being mean to you. How could you make a relationship work? Or, oh, please, when this relationship got real, you couldn't handle it. So you get the idea. The sort of story you were being sold about you is that you didn't or don't have what it takes to manage a long-term relationship. In essence, that you're the problem, that you leave when the heat is on. This can actually, in some cases, turn out to be a really potentially harmful dynamic because you may have been leaving other relationships because you had good instincts. You might have been getting out of toxic relationships. But we're then being hit with this narrative that you're a cut and run person that can't make it work. You're avoidant. And if you really actually are someone who did want a healthy relationship, but were leaving these relationships because the relationship didn't feel right, or you were noticing patterns that didn't seem healthy, your wisdom may have gotten questioned. So you may have sort of squelched your own wisdom. And then for some folks, if this happened to you, it could feel like a challenge, a sort of doubting of your ability to be in a relationship, almost like a prove it. Prove you can stick it out in a relationship. And then because when people call us out, we want to prove, you may stick it out, whether out of not wanting to live in this narrative that people have of you, of being the person who always leaves, or even to prove to yourself or to other people that you can make a relationship work despite being told you cannot. It's a sad challenge to try to win because, as you can see, if you are in a narcissistic relationship and also you're having this narrative thrown at you that you can't make relationships work, or you leave too easily, or you're too extra, or you don't try hard enough, you might say, well, okay, well, then I'm going to try harder and I'm going to make this relationship work. And you put your head down and you try to make it work because you want to show that they're wrong about you. You could make a relationship work. And then on top of that, you are let's say you're now in a relationship and you're being gaslighted and manipulated and you're confused and you're blaming yourself, but damn, I'm going to prove them wrong. I'm going to make it work. They're wrong about me. I can be in a relationship. This particular scenario is more common than you think. There are many reasons a family or other people may cast this kind of judgment on someone. Meanness, dismissiveness, manipulation, undermining, competitiveness, envy, whatever it is. It may even play on attachment styles created by an emotionally abusive family system. A person may actually evolve an avoidant attachment after growing up with a narcissistic parent. Relationships may seem scary, and there may even be a propensity to want to leave relationships. But the very system that left you feeling unsafe in relationships is now challenging you on your capacity to make a relationship work. And you may have this fight response in you and want to prove them wrong. So this becomes intergenerational BS that's playing out at the highest level. It's easy for me to sit here and say, well, just let them have their narrative about you. You know the truth. Because it doesn't feel that simple to just take that stance. the people who may be jabbing at you like this and invalidating you or just baiting you have likely been emotionally unsafe people in your life for a long time, and that can result in self-doubt. And if relationships have been in the past complicated spaces for you, it's very likely that you will second guess yourself in these situations, especially if you have lots of friends who are getting into relationships and all of that. And that can mean proving to yourself and the world that all these people who are saying you can't make a relationship are wrong, and you can make a relationship work. And now you can see how a person can get stuck in the toxic vortex of a narcissistic relationship. So let's start here. If this has been your story, please be kind to yourself, because in a way it was a terrible setup where you couldn't win. You were trying to prove the world wrong on something that wasn't true, on something that you were very clear about. But sadly, in narcissistic family systems and relationships, messing with other people's minds is sport, with little regard for how it hurts someone. And as you unpack what happened, you will realize that you may have seen it clearly all along, but got swept away in the idea that, damn it, if it's the last thing I do, I'm going to show them that I could make this work. Healing means getting back to that place where if you did have that capacity to intuitively see unhealthy, you could see it. And it means also disengaging from the folks who would be willing to challenge you like this and be willing to shame you for not being able to make an abusive relationship work. I cannot tell you how many people I have talked with who've said to me, I just sort of felt this prevailing narrative of I can't make something work. Sadly came along just when I didn't know what this whole narcissism thing was. I meet this person. Initially, they seem charming and all of that. They even charmed my family. When it started getting toxic, I could hear my family's voice saying like, oh, here we go. Of course, she can't make it work, and this is just a great person. But you know the narcissistic game. They can often be really great to the people they're trying to charm and cruel behind closed doors. That's the nature of these dynamics. And people will say, I just didn't want to live in that narrative that I can't make relationships work. So I tried and I tried and I tried and I tried. And they will say, not hewing to that narrative was a lot of why they got so stuck for so long in the relationship. And so that's what led me to make this video, is I've heard this story too many times. And more of us actually have better instincts than we think. But so often we are more willing to pathologize the person who's like, I don't like the vibe here, versus the person who sticks it out. We're like, yeah, good for you. You stick there in the hard times. Again, the change we need to create in the world is that people really do pay attention to how things feel intuitively in your body. Like, this doesn't feel okay. And it doesn't mean you have to leave everything. It doesn't mean you have to fully disengage, but it may mean you slow down. It may mean you step back. It may mean that you talk with people you trust who aren't turning your life into one big dare. So again, if you've had this dynamic, please, when you feel comfortable, you can drop it in the comments. But again, it's more common than you think. Good luck and thanks again.